I noticed that you mentioned at the bottom of that post that there are a lot of things that the church can gain from using AI. Would you mind sharing with us some examples, or actually where you see AI at right now, and some examples of how the church could use it to benefit the body?
Yeah. So, my 9 to 5 job, I am um, director of product management for federal future technologies, future innovation technologies. So, the areas that I focus on are next step, horizon 2 and 3 of technologies that are out right now in the federal space. So, like ChatGPT, yes, but what does it look like in 2 or 3 years for the Marines or for the intelligence community or for the civilian agencies? And so that's where I focus on. I'm primarily focused on artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and edge computing are the three that are primarily where I'm at, which includes space systems. And so that's kind of where I live. And so what I look to is not the current use cases of artificial intelligence, because those are already there. I look to 2 to 3 years to 10 years out on quantum and AI. And so that's where I spend my days. And so it, of course, in the spirit of everything you hear, you figure out ways you can implement it into the future of the church. How can we benefit the church? How can this tool be used at the church? And I opened up my questions on Instagram a few days ago for questions on AI, and somebody asked me, "Is AI demonic?" And I'm like, well, it's not a thing, and so no, it's not. It's not like it's no, it's not. Anyway, there's so much confusion around AI, and the company I work for is very adamant about getting regulations around it and choosing trustworthy versions of it and source document, make sure data is good and quality and reliable. And so in the church world, where I see that heading is, first of all, it's a tool. It's either in the hands of good actors, it's a tool, and in the hands of bad actors, yes, it can be a weapon. But for the church, what I see as a tool that we can use is, it's like your virtual assistant. It's can it help you make graphics? Yes. Can it help you schedule stuff? Yes. Can it help you do research for sermons? I don't recommend it writing sermons, but can it do research for sermons? Absolutely. Can it? It's to some degree, there is a version that is available on Bing that is connected to the internet, which is Bing Chat, or then there is ChatGPT, which is not connected to the internet. So it's a source data of procured data that it's not like this. It's not where you go to get your news. So
Mm.
as far as what I see it as far as ChatGPT specifically, I've seen it be used in creating outlines for like staff meetings. Like if you need an agenda for a staff meeting, say ChatGPT, I've got a 1 hour staff meeting that I'm having with my staff at the church. I would like to discuss these areas. Can you present an agenda bulletized, and it'll come out with an agenda for staff meeting, and recommendation letters. It'll write you a recommendation letter. It's going to take a lot of the clerical side out of the day to day. And one of the concerns I have with AI depends on the could you and should you question.
Mm.
Can you use it for everything? Absolutely. Should you? No. Like, can it write a sermon? Yes, it can write a sermon. Should it write your sermon? No, it shouldn't write your sermon. And so, like, that's the question and the framework that I utilize in my 9 to 5 as well. Like, yes, there are things it can do, but we don't want it doing those things. And so, as the church goes, I think artificial intelligence is going to be a conversation that we desperately need to have. We need to have it at all levels of our movement, because there are concerns and there are implications, but in the day-to-day use cases, I met with Kenny Jang, who is on Carrie Newhoff's team, and they had just put out an article on ChatGPT, and I reached out to him, and he and I talked about it for quite a bit, and they've actually got a Facebook group for AI for pastors and church leaders, and it's just
Oh,
a bunch
wow.
of conversations that everybody's having about how you can use it for church use cases, and it's super cool to see what other churches are doing. So I encourage you, if you're interested in that, go find his group on Facebook and join it, because it is a very interesting conversation to be had, because there are vast use cases, vast wins that you can implement, that you can automate some processes, that you can systematize things that, you know, I mean, who doesn't need more staff at their church, right? I
Mhm.
mean, like, this
Right.
is, if it takes you an hour to sit down and write a recommendation letter, well, you can do that in 20 seconds now. And one of the cool things that I'll just tell you as far as a tip on how to use it, one of the things that we talk to at my job is, we always say you need to ground it in who it is. And so you always tell it who you want it to be. So
Mm.
um, say you are a conservative pastor and you would like to write a recommendation letter for a student in your church to go to college, utilizing their skill sets and using Bible verses in the response. And they're really good at volunteering, and I'm thankful for what all they've done at our church. Well, it'll spit you out a letter that is just stunningly beautiful, with scripture references and amazing, amazing typography. And so what you have to realize is that it can help you with your mundane tasks. It can take away some of the annoying things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis. But all of that being said, using it morally and within ethical bounds of
Mm.
what we feel like as believers you should use it for, it is a tool. And just like Google was a tool, just like the internet is a tool, artificial intelligence, we've all seen the ones that go rogue, right? Like, they never just stay in their box like they're supposed to. And so we always laugh about it. Like, that's the mindset of artificial intelligence, is it's going to go rogue at some point. And so actually educating yourself on what it is and how it works. I've seen a lot of things talking about, well, it's just pulling its data and it's not citing it, and it doesn't show you its references. Well, in the enterprise version of it, it does.
Mm.
So if you get the actual Open Azure, Open AI, you're getting
Yeah.
all of that. You're not getting that on the free version that you're just typing in
Yeah, you
blank.
got to pay for it.
And so I do want to relieve, there's actual source documentation behind everything it spits out. But the technology is amazing, and I think churches can use it in a lot of different ways. My concerns and Congress's concerns and the world's concerns are the ethical use of it, and getting
Mm.
regulations and a rules by which we all play for is the looming conversation that is happening. But I think the church can definitely benefit from it, in a sense of, it can take some of the weight off of leadership to create lists or to summarize something. If there's a book you want to read and you haven't read yet, and if it's been fed into ChatGPT, you can ask it to summarize in bullet points the main concepts of something. Well,
Hmm.
that's huge in the aspect of what we do day to day.
Right.
If you haven't had time to read this new leadership book, can you give me the 6 principles, 6 bullet points from this book of that I should know if I haven't read this book? And it'll spit them out for you. And so it's a great tool that will develop over time into just another thing that we do life with. I mean, people think it's new. It's not new. You've been dealing with artificial intelligence bots for a decade now. It's
Yeah.
just it's
Well,
new
Siri,
to,
isn't Siri AI?
right. And Siri works on Wolfram Alpha, which is more of like an indexing
Hmm.
type of AI, which is not generative.
Right.
The G in Chat GPT means generative pre-trained transformer. Generative means it connects like a cognitive neural pathways. It actually makes neural transmitters go down paths, and it connects them just like a brain would. The people that created this model are all neurosurgeons. So they know how the brain works. And so they've kind of created an AI that does it the way the human brain does. And so it's not just indexing and yes and no. It is actually a body of knowledge that like when it first came out, it couldn't pass the bar exam. Well, within 3 months, it can now pass the bar exam. So, it's just it's generative. It is always learning, which freaks people out. So I try and just not talk about that part.
So how far before it self-actualizes?
Right. And when does it want to have transcendence, right? When does it want to do more? So yeah, the conversations, Tyler had an argument with ChatGPT and it was trying to convince it that it was sentient. And so it was a very funny conversation to go back and read afterwards, but it's play with it, learn it. Don't be afraid of it, because I think, as believers, sometimes we hear stuff and we get scared of it. And so then we shy away from it and don't know anything about it. And then it's really scary, because if you don't know anything about it, you can be told anything and believe it to be true.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
There's a lot we need to learn from it and to be aware of it and to be involved in the space. I encourage people all the time, get in my world. I would love to have you here.